My guest today was 39 years into his marriage before he came out to his wife. What happened next was both joyful and sad. It's a story of love and sacrifice, and today at age 71, my guest is living a joyful and authentic life. He'll tell us how we got to this place in life and what he's learned. Joining me from his home in Seattle, Ron Bunnell. So Ron, welcome. It's great to have you here.
Well, thank you, David. I'm happy to be here.
10 years ago at 61, you were, I think if I recall, 39 years into your marriage when you decided to come out to your wife. What were the circumstances that led to that decision?
Well, I wouldn't say so much it was a decision as just a set of circumstances. I had been communicating with a man by email, and my wife happened to read the email.
Good.
And she couldn't, it didn't make any sense to her, so she just said, well, what is this? And, I had really lived my whole life afraid that this secret would come out. And, I don't think there was a day that I didn't think, gosh, what is today the day that it's going to happen? And I had decided that if something like this happened, I was not going to lie. I wasn't going to try to cover it up. And so she said, what is this? And I said, I'm gay. And I literally thought my life would end as I knew it, that my marriage would end, things would happen at work and friends. And she just blew me away when she said, Ron, I still love you. I want us to stay married. And we actually, it was almost like we were falling in love again. Over the next few days, we talked intimately, talked in ways that we hadn't for years, and just really enjoyed and relished, talking about our innermost feelings. And of course, for me, it was like the first time in my life that I could really, be authentic and come out as the person that I really was, and to do that in this loving environment with Barb was just an amazing experience.
Why do you think she was so, open to that when you were open, honest, and vulnerable, something you had hidden all those years? And it sounds like it surprised you under her reaction.
Oh, I think it's just one word. It's love. We had been together for a long time, married for 39 years, but together longer than that. And she's an open-minded person. She had gay friends. In fact, she said, how hypocritical it would be of her to say, yes, people should be open and honest, everyone except my own husband. So we started, like I said, very positively, but it was a rocky road, because it's one thing to, to believe in the concept and the idea of being married to a gay man. But as things play out, a lot of challenges.
What were the bumps then in that rocky road and the challenges that you encountered?
Well, we agreed that I would come out slowly. We started by coming out to my kids. When I said I'm gay, they go, "Oh, is that all?" So that really went surprisingly well. And then I came out to my brothers. I have three brothers, and different reactions, but all three said they loved me. Two of them are Christians, strong Christians, and one of them's a fundamentalist. And his reaction was, "Well, you're a sinner, but I still love you." And then when we ended the discussion, he said, "But if you ever got married, I don't think I could come to your wedding." But I just felt good that he was able to come that far. The fact that he was accepting and loving was a big gift. And then, Barb did say that I could have a boyfriend. And so, and that's where things got complicated. So I would, go out with a man, and surprisingly, she wanted like me to text her updates on what's going on, whatever doing. She just couldn't stand to just stay home and think, oh my God, what's going on here, and not know anything. And
was that a loving, supporting curiosity, or do you think it was something else type of curiosity?
Well, I think it was loving and supporting, but also a way to cover up her own pain. She was sharing me. She was, she always wanted to be involved with my life, and here was a part of my life that I think she continued to want to be involved with. But
did she have any indications when she found that email? Other than that email, was there any things that you had done or she had observed that had her doubting?
No. Oh my gosh, she had no idea. No one did. It was a complete surprise to everyone that I came out to.
So you're out there looking for the boyfriend and trying to build a relationship. How did that traverse?
So I did go on some dates, and even actually went to San Francisco. We lived in Phoenix at the time, and took a trip to San Francisco with a man, and it was really for me very joyous to just for the first time in my life just be totally who I am. But shortly after that, Barb asked me to end the relationship. She said it was just too much, moving too fast for her. And so I did. And then we entered this period that was just really tough for me because, it was almost like, I'd been suppressing all these feelings for so long, and then they started surfacing, and it was like a volcano coming up. I just wanted everything to come out. I wanted to yell from the mountaintops, I'm gay. And, we had decided, and I think logically, I certainly I understood why she wanted to move slow and didn't want to come out to more friends and wanted me to end the relationship. But it was just really a tough period, and because I just couldn't see where it was going and how I had this tiny taste of being authentic, and I wanted it to expand and to be even more. And so I started losing sleep. I was just really anxious about things, and one morning I just totally broke down. I fell on the ground. I couldn't even get up, and Barb came over and helped me up, and we just cried together in bed. And then I also started therapy with just an incredible therapist. I really did worry about this secret coming out. It was a part of me. It's kind of surprising when other people don't see it, but I've kept it a secret since I was 9 years old. So I was pretty accomplished at it. I can remember the time when I told myself, "Oh my gosh, I have to change. I have to keep this a secret." When I was either 9 or 10, our family was on vacation. We went to go see the Hearst Castle, and my dad said, "Oh, each of you boys can go buy something in the gift shop." And I bought this little manicure set, and my dad goes, "Oh, well, that's something for girls." And I think he regretted the comment almost immediately, but it really stung. And I realized, that's a side of me I have to hide. And I went back and looked, I guess it was a few years ago, at photos when I was a kid. And before that incident, I was wearing these, colorful, flowery shirts. And afterwards, it was all muted grays and blues.
This is after the response to the nail kit.
Yeah, and
Okay.
like I said, it was a very conscious decision. I cannot show this side of me.
Were you ever bullied as a kid in school or by family?
Well, and then, it's surprising. I thought I was pretty good at holding this secret, but, kids are pretty intuitive.
They are.
And there was an incident. I was in sixth grade, and we had this great big, those big dictionaries that libraries sometimes have,
on the big
giant,
stand? Yeah.
the big stand. We had one of those in my sixth grade class, and somebody opened it up and wrote in black ink, "Ron is a fag."
Wow.
And
how did that feel?
Oh my gosh! I just felt like I just wanted to shrink and be invisible.
And why do you think somebody thought that and wrote it in the dictionary?
Well, I wasn't particularly athletic, or I certainly wasn't boyish, and I think, like, when we would play baseball, I would join in, but I'd say, well, I want to be the umpire. I don't want to play. and I would go, I'd play foursquare with the girls, and there were certainly signs there that people could pick up. So
you're getting signals in as a child from family and friends that Ron's got to stay inside this box.
Yeah, that's exactly
the
right.
expected norm of what the norm was at the day.
Yeah.
You're listening to Out Late with David.
I want to share a book that dives deep into the experiences of those in mixed orientation marriages, much like our guest today. It's called Over the Cliff: Gay Husbands in Straight Marriages by Bonnie Kay and Doug Dittmer. This book is a heartfelt exploration of the complexities and emotional challenges faced by gay men who found themselves in straight marriages. Bonnie and Doug offer not just personal stories, but also practical advice and support for those navigating these difficult waters. They shed light on the often unspoken struggles and the journey towards self-acceptance and truth. What I love about this book is its compassion and understanding. It's a beacon of hope for anyone who might feel isolated or confused about their situation. Whether you're directly impacted or just looking to understand more about this experience, Over the Cliff is a powerful, eye-opening read. Now back to today's guest, Ron Bunnell.
I grew up in Boulder, Colorado. I think, pretty open
Were you attracted
community.
to boys, though, at that age?
Well, I was. I can remember, like, being with some friends, and they would, pull open a Playboy and, look at the picture of the girls, and I would just think, what do they see in this?
Yeah.
But no, I didn't. No, I never really had a relationship with a boy until college. And in college, I did have a boyfriend.
Oh.
We both kept it under the QT. We did not want anyone to know about it. In fact, I remember he didn't even want to admit that he was gay. He said, Ron, I'm not a homosexual. I'm a Ronisexual. He said, it's just very specific to you. So we were both, motivated to.
So what was Ron
to
then,
keep it quiet?
If
Well, I knew I was gay, but still I was ashamed and wanted to change. I didn't want to admit it.
Because you married shortly after that, because you were early 20s.
I did. So I met Barb in high school. I did. I remember asking her, I said, well, what do you see in me? And she said, well, Ron, you're just not like the other boys.
But you said that she was surprised when you did tell her, though, years later,
what
that difference.
I don't think she ever made the connection that, she knew I was sensitive. She, there's a lot of attributes, but she never associated with it being gay. She just thought I was a kind-hearted soul.
Were you making a conscious decision then of, I have to be straight, I have to act this way? And did you tell anybody else that
I didn't tell anybody.
Nobody. Just kept it in here.
Except for the one man I had the relationship with in college. I never told anyone. And the relationship with Barb, so I came back from college at Christmas break, and she ran into my twin brother and said, if Ron gets home, have him look me up. So I did, and we started a relationship that really flourished. Like I said, we really enjoyed each other's company, had a real attraction. I did try to break it up once, and a couple of weeks later, she called me and said, "Ron, I'm just miserable without you," and I had to admit, well, I was miserable without her too, and so we got engaged when I was still a senior in college, and then we got married in June of 1975, which is right after I graduated. And we had kids just a couple of years later. And then I would say my life was really on automatic pilot. I mean, I was just, consumed with work and my career. I had, 2 kids at home, and I was a very, devoted father and husband. And so that was really what our life was about for until the kids left home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a big shift from today's norms in the 1970s of what was acceptable or not and what the boundaries are.
It is. I mean, so Stonewall was in 1969. So that. And you think about it, that was in New York City, right? That wasn't like someplace in the Bible Belt. So that was right when I was in high school, and my mother was raised as a Southern Baptist, and I can look back and I say, I knew people that were gay and they had the courage to come out. So I can't say, that it was impossible to do, but it just sure seemed impossible to me.
When you heard about Stonewall in '69, did you have any feelings for wanting to identify with that group of people, or?
Well, I certainly was sympathetic, and with my friend group, I would say that they were as well. But it's different to say I want to support the gay community, and then to be married, have kids, and say, oh, by the way, I'm gay myself. That was just a leap too far for me.
So I've heard from other guests when they entered into a relationship where they knew they were gay at their core, but they were sticking to what society expected, that it did have an impact on the relationship with their spouse, maybe sexual and other things. Did that have any type of negative impact on your relationship with her as you moved through life together?
Well, we had, a good intimate relationship. I would say we had a very good relationship. It really wasn't until I came out, and then sort of fast forward to meeting my current husband, Scott, that I said, what sex and intimacy with a woman can be great, but it's kind of like black and white film can be great. But with a man, it's full Technicolor, and the fireworks are going off. So, I would say it's only in retrospect that I would say that things could have been better in that department.
Okay. Well, let's take the Technicolor and black and white analogy real quick, because you said when you came out, you go to San Francisco with a guy, and it's just like I see rainbows and fireworks going everywhere.
Yeah.
And she's going not so fast.
Right.
And so she's reeling you back in. What I see is back into the closet. And how did that feel and impact you?
Gosh, that was like that was just the toughest part of this whole journey. And I explained I started therapy. I did get on Lexapro.
Were you depressed? Did you feel you were depressed?
I would not have said it myself, but I have to say that Lexapro had a remarkable impact on stabilizing me. But I really noticed I was just sleeping better. But the third thing is that I joined HOW, it's Husbands Out to Wives, and that was just an amazing organization because it's composed of men who are married, gay men. They're out to their wives and they want to maintain their relationship. And so it was very helpful for me. I started with just exchanging emails with the men, a part of the group, but also to Barb because she would talk to the wives in the group. And so this really, did, just knowing you're not alone, and that there's other guys out there in the same situation, and of course they reached out and were so supportive. And then shortly after I joined the group, they had their national conference in Minneapolis. This would be in 2014. And I went there, and that's where I met Scott. And we just had an immediate connection. We just really had a lot of affection for each other. He's just an easy person to love because, he's just down to earth and respectful, and just one of these guys that everyone loves. And, I told Barb about him, and she said, she's ready for me to have a boyfriend under two conditions. One, that he be out of state, because she didn't want this constant competition. And two, that she meet him and approve of him. So we met in October of 14. In that December, Barb and I flew up to Seattle from Phoenix, where we lived, and we met Scott and his wife. They picked us up at the airport and took us out for a really nice dinner. And halfway through dinner, Barb leaned over to me and said, "Well, you found a winner." So
the two criteria were met in her mind.
The two criteria were met. And she had evolved. I mean, to her credit, she went from saying, a few months earlier, "I'm just not ready for you to have a boyfriend," to, "I understand this need, and here's a compromise that we think can work."
As a life coach, I'm committed to help you discover the passions in your life and help you map a course to achieve the things you really want. Together, we will unwind those persistent self-doubts that are holding you back. You'll begin to see your passions more clearly and set achievable goals. Throughout your journey, I'll be there to challenge and encourage you in moving forward to discover your authentic self. For more information about my personal life coaching services, or to arrange a complimentary consultation, visit davidcottoncoaching.com.
You're listening to Out Late with David.
One thing that comes to mind, you had mentioned to me before that she had had kidney disease, and you had donated a kidney to a network which allowed her to get a kidney from a matched donor. Do you think that had any effect on her openness and your long-term future and happiness?
She had polycystic kidneys, and which is a disease that doesn't really have any negative consequences until, at least for her, until age 55. And her kidneys started to fail. And then it wasn't until her early 60s that she really needed a transplant. And I was planning to give her one of mine because we were blood type compatible, but it turns out that she had developed antibodies to my antigens during her pregnancies, and we no longer were compatible, which was devastating news. And so we were part of the first ever pay it forward kidney chain. Matt Jones came down from Petoskey, Michigan to Phoenix to donate a kidney to my wife. And a week later, I flew to Toledo, Ohio, and gave a kidney and to Angie, and then her mother paid it forward, and it just kept getting paid forward. And
It's beautiful.
It really captured the imagination of the country, of the world. It was all over the news and the three networks at USA Today, and even serious publications like the New England Journal of Medicine.
Huh.
And when you ask the question, well, does this impact our relationship? Well, I have to say, so a week after I donated a kidney, I came back to Phoenix, and we were both recovering from surgeries together. And it really was a very intimate time for us to be experiencing this together, kind of a whole new lease on life. Barb was literally, getting a new lease on life. And I was recovering from the surgeries, and we just were closer during those weeks of recovery than I think we had ever been before, and created a real love for each other and love of life and energy. So that happened in 2007. And so I think it did tighten our bond. But, it was also, it turned out to be, there was a negative part of this story, and that is that her health started to decline about this same time in 2015. Long story short, she died January of 16. So this is a year and a half after I came out. And it was only 45 days after our divorce was finalized. Of course, had I known that her health was declining and that she only had, less than a year to live, I would have held off and try to make her last year of life the best it could be, rather than one of the worst. So that certainly is when she died, a real source of guilt for me that transpired the way that it did.
Do you think she'd be happy for you today?
Oh my gosh, I know she would. Literally in the hospital on her deathbed, she said, "Ron, no regrets. Live your life." She wished me the best.
Wow,
So,
that's really special.
I think it's a product of 40 years of love.
So what do you have advice for men who are like you, coming out later in life, exploring the possibility of a mixed orientation marriage or getting divorced? What would be thoughts you'd have for them as they sort through this for themselves?
Every circumstance is different, and I hate to. I wouldn't give any specific advice because every situation is different. But I think if I was going to give one piece of advice, is if you think a certain path is the right one for you, it is worth the pain to go through it and to get to the right place for you. Pursue that path, and because I think you get through these challenges and you end up at the other side and with a much richer life if you can just be authentic to who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And you can acknowledge the love for your wife and acknowledge the love for a man, but being authentic is the way to live. Mm-hmm. And I think we're so fortunate to evolve as far as we have, so that people growing up today, I have young friends who don't even have a coming out story.
I'm just myself.
Yeah. People your age, I don't know anyone that your age, my age, that doesn't have a coming out story.
Yep,
we all have coming out stories. And they're all interesting and they're all unique. So when you talk to a younger person and they, you know,
which is the way it should
they
be.
It's just
be
actually the way they should be.
yourself.
Oh my gosh!
I do have one burning question because I can't get past this in my head.
Yeah.
You said you had a brother that said wouldn't come to a future wedding.
Oh
How
my
did that
gosh!
end up?
Oh my gosh! So, Scott and I and Roger and Allie, we were on vacation in Mexico together, and that's when I told them that we're going to get married, and I said I'd really love for you to come, and they said, "Oh, we'd love to be there." And I said, "What? What changed your mind?" And he said, "God gave us lots of commandments, but the number one is love." And you know, it just the journey, the personal journey that he took and to end up at that spot, just, you know, it just meant so much to me. So, you know, he was my best man at the wedding, and my other two brothers, you know, were up there with me. So, yeah, I you know, sometimes you just need to give people time, and
Yes.
and they'll work it through. At our wedding, we were surrounded by love from friends and family. You know, Barb had died obviously before the wedding, but her side of the family was there, you know, cousins and siblings. We're very, very fortunate because we just have the full love and support of both of our families. So we know that we have a lot to be grateful for.
Well, Ron, thank you for sharing your story today. It sounds like you have a joyful life, and we know this is going to help others who are going through their own struggles for themselves. So it'll be of great service to them. Thank you very much for today's time.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Ron is a good example of why some couples choose to live in a mixed orientation marriage after one of them comes out. He told the story of their loving life together, raising children, and even donating a kidney for her in her time of need. I was struck by the graciousness of Ron's wife, wanting him to be happy in his fully realized sexual orientation, even supporting his desire for a close relationship with a man. I was touched by the fact he believes his late wife would be happy for him and Scott and the life they've built together. As Ron mentioned, he found the insight of the Husbands Out to Wives support group helpful. To find out more about Husbands Out to Wives, check our resource section on outlatewithdavid.com. I'm David Cotton. See you next time.